Hello, lovely people. Today we have a very messy workbench, and in this video we'll be checking out this Recoil Pro MST-1 multifunctional audio tester. I would like to say a huge thank you to Recoil for sending me this to review. Now, in this video, I'm gonna show you what this thing actually is. We're gonna test a bunch of stuff. Basically, we're gonna test this in real world scenario. We're gonna kind of install an audio system. We have a head unit, amplifier, speaker, subwoofer, some cables as well, like RCA, speakers cables, and we'll be using this thing to test everything. So first of all, let's have a look what's in the box. This box looks exactly the same as anything from Recoil. I have speakers, subwoofers, amplifiers, kind of the same box, same design. So this multifunctional audio tester, what it can do, it has a signal generator, distortion detector, speaker and system phase tester, AC/DC voltmeter, wire and signal cable tester, impedance meter, and some other stuff. So inside the box we have this thing. We have the actual tester itself, which is typical Recoil blue color, and we have a little pouch. Inside the pouch, if I'm gonna open it up, we have a few leads, and we do have a USB stick. So this pouch is for this thing as well. It's very compact, very nice, just to protect it. But to be honest, this doesn't really need protection because it is kind of rugged phone case. Because obviously you're going to be using in a workshop environment, you're going to drop it a few times. So just for the ruggedness, it has this rubber boot that's supposed to protect it. Now this thing can be charged via USB. The USB cable, charging cable, is not included. This is a USB-C, so if you have a phone, you can charge this. We have this USB stick on which we do have a few files. So we have a 40 Hz 0 dBFS sine tone, 1000 Hz, and the pop signal for polarity tester for the speakers. We're gonna check that out as well. We do have two kinds of leads. Both of them end up in RCA because this thing has RCA connections, which is amazing. You can plug in your RCAs that you're testing from the head unit straight away, or you do have one that ends in alligator clips to connect any kind of wire, and the second one ends in your typical multimeter probes that you can test, I don't know, like amplifier outputs or that kind of stuff. That's very cool. Now in this video we're going to try to answer a question: is this worth the money, or you would be fine with a typical multimeter and a typical little scope? Because this thing costs about $200, I think 200 to 20 depending on where you are, and these things you can get as cheap as, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 bucks, another 20, 25 bucks. So probably you can get these two for quarter of the price of this one. So very quickly, let's have a look how it works. We have an on button. Yes, it does beep every single time. And here we have all the stuff like tone generator, distortion, phase. We're going to go through everything. And in order to do that, we need to test something. We need to install a system. So here we have a few things. We have a head unit, we have a mono amplifier, 4-channel amplifier, speaker, subwoofer, and my power source. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to take this USB stick, put it in the head unit USB slot. Okay, we're gonna go to music, internal USB stick, and here we have our 40 Hz tone, 1000 Hz tone, and phase and signal tester. So first thing, we're gonna start, I think, with a monoblock and the subwoofer. Before we play any test tones or anything, I wanna just double check the subwoofer because I'm not sure. I did wire it, it's in the box as you can see, and I don't remember what's the impedance. Is it 2 ohm, 1 ohm, 4 ohm, or whatever? So I'm gonna take this tester. In the red one, I'm gonna plug in the alligator clips because it's easiest to connect my speaker wires. I'm gonna connect black to black, red to red. There we go. And we're gonna go into resistance tester, enter, and I'm gonna press enter again. 1.1 ohm. So this is a dual 2 ohm, and I did connect it in parallel. That's why it's 1 ohm. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna rewire it quickly because I don't want 1 ohm. I want it to be 4 ohm subwoofer. Okay, I did rewire it. So let's try again. Let me press enter again. 4.3 ohms, exactly what we want. Perfect. Now, I just want to make sure that this subwoofer is actually playing without any like noises, weird stuff or anything. So I'm going to go to tone generator and we have 40 hertz playing straight away. Let's go down. Yeah, it does play. You can hear it. Let's go up. Yep. So this subwoofer is 4 ohms and it's playing. We're not gonna have issue with it at all. Great. Now we're gonna jump into the head unit, and what I want to test is the clip point of the head unit on RCAs. I do have one RCA out and I want to see at what volume the head unit RCA clips. So I'm gonna go down on the volume just to be safe. I'm gonna pull this out and I'm gonna connect directly this RCA into one of the slots, and then I'm gonna go to distortion detector. I'm gonna click enter and there we go. So I'm gonna play this 40 hertz tone and I'm gonna increase the volume and we'll see when it starts clipping. Okay. It doesn't detect anything. So I have max volume on this, but this one, it doesn't detect anything. So I wonder what can be wrong. First, let's check the actual RCA. Let me unplug it from the head unit. And I'm going to plug in this other end of RCA into the second slot. And now we're going to go back and we're going to go to continuity tester. I'm going to click to the side and here we have RCA interconnect test. I'm going to click enter. Fail. So that means that this RCA is bad. Okay, I will have to investigate it. What's wrong with it? I have a spare RCA here on the side. Let's connect this and let's see what we have on this one. Enter. Pass. Okay, so this RCA is good. Let me connect this RCA to the head unit. There we go. I'm gonna go back on the volume. Now, let's try the same thing again. Let's connect this RCA. Let's return distortion detector, enter. There we go. Okay, there we go. We have 0.8. And it just stopped. Let's click enter. There we go, 40 hertz. There we go, 1.1, kind of 1 volt. Let's increase the volume and see what happens. Okay, so we have some weird stuff happening with this. I think it might be that this unit is faulty because it did work for me before and now for some reason it doesn't work. What I have now is playing the 40 hertz tone. It shows me this is on max volume 1.1 volt and distorted. If I'm gonna go one click down, it drops down and then it just disappears, but it's not clipping anymore. If I go up, it's distorted. If I go down, it's not. Now, when this, you see 0.8 now it's showing. It's very weird. If I'm going to check it with the multimeter, which is this one, I'm going to have this and this. I have 5.6 volts on the RCAs. And this one doesn't show it. Now see? It's just randomly going up and down. If we're going to go back and to do AC, there we go. It doesn't pick up anything. Weird. So again, on the multimeter, we have 5.6 volts. And now it shows 1.2, 1.3. If I'm going to remove this, it drops down. It's very weird what's happening. If I'm going to connect to the amplifier, 3.1, 5. There we go. So, okay. What does it show if I connect to the amplifier? This is the other end because this cable is split. So it goes from the head unit and I have like a Y split. Now it shows here. Let's go to distortion. Is it going to show? There we go. Okay, so this is weird. One click up. 5.3, 5.6 distorted. If I'm going to go one click down, 4.9 no distortion. Okay, so it shows me 5 volts. I'm a bit confused because I don't know what's happening. Okay, this is 5.6. Shows me 5.6. If I plug it in, okay, 4.9. So it's not very correct. Let's check with a scope, with a little baby scope. Okay, I'm gonna connect the little scope plus with plus, minus with minus. Let's do auto ranging. Okay, waiting, there we go. So it is showing as not clipping. If I'm gonna increase it, yes, we can see a little bit clip. Let me increase the wave. Yes, you can see that it starts clipping on the scope. If I go down, it's not clipping, clipping, not clipping. But this is weird that it doesn't show the correct voltage, and it shows the voltage only when you have the RCA connected to something. If I'm gonna unplug this from the amplifier, yeah, you can see it's, I don't know what's happening. It's still 5 volts on this one. It just doesn't pick it up. It picks up only when it's inside the amplifier. Let me try the monoblock. So the only thing that I did now is I put it in the monoblock over there, and it shows bad voltage, and it's jumping all over the round. I have no idea what's happening now. But it does detect distortion. It's just the voltage that is not incorrect. I'm gonna go down one click. Yeah, distortion. I have no idea what's happening. But now we know that our head unit, basically we can go all the way up, and we need to go one click down on volume 35 out of 36, so that we would have before clipping. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to connect the RCAs to the monoblock amplifier, and we're going to check the monoblock. We'll set gains on it. Okay, so I connected the RCAs and we have no lights, so the monoblock is not working. I do have the wires connected. Why is it not working? Let's check if it has power and it has the remote on. So I'm gonna take this again. We're gonna go back and we're gonna go to AC/DC, and we're gonna check DC. First I want to see if we have 12 volts on the terminals. So negative, positive, 11.9. Okay, so we do have power. Do we have remote? Let me just touch the remote. Okay, there's 0 on the remote. Okay, so we don't have a remote coming into the amplifier. So the remote wire is supposed to come from this head unit, this blue wire. So let's check again. Let's do black with black, which is ground, just to double check. So we do have, I'm gonna touch this, which is on the positive, we have 11.7, great. On the remote, 11.3. Okay, so we do have a remote. A remote from the head unit is live, it's working. Can it be the cable? Okay, so let me remove this remote wire from the amplifier. And I'm gonna remove this remote wire from this terminal block. Okay, so we have this wire. Let's have a look. Let's go clip like this, clip like this, and we're gonna go to, on this thing, go back, continuity, and continuity tester. Fail. Okay, so this wire is bad apparently. So this red one is bad. Let's double check if the black one is okay, because it might be that it's just the wire that is broken. And that's why I don't have a remote going into the amplifier. Let's check the black one. Okay, like this. Enter. Pass. Okay, so apparently the red wire is broken and the black wire is fine. Yep, that's pretty much correct. So let's connect this remote wire again. Okay. Let's plug everything back in. And let's have a look if our amplifier is working. Yay, we have a blue light, it's working, nice. So we did troubleshoot a bad RCA for the head unit before and a bad wire for the remote. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna set the gains on this monoblock amplifier. for the subwoofer. Okay, so now I have everything connected. It is a bit of a clutter of wire because I want to see everything the same with the recoil tester, with the typical cheap multimeter, and with a scope, just to see if the distortion is correct and the voltage is correct as well. We do have 40 Hz 0 dB FS sine tone playing. We know that the RCAs are not clipping, one click before clip. It goes into the amplifier, and the amplifier has the gain all the way down. So if I'm gonna start increasing the gain, you can see the screwdriver is turning. We do have voltage. So starting voltage is 16.8 on the recoil and 17.4 on the multimeter. So it does read a little bit less. However, for some reason, reading higher voltage is not a problem for it. I think it might have a problem reading smaller voltage, or it has something to do with the ground. I'm not sure. I'm going to contact Recoil. I'm going to tell them about this and see what they're going to comment under the video. So if I'm going to increase the gain, you can see the voltage is going up, the sine wave is going up as well. And now we want to see when it starts clipping. So I'm going to keep increasing it until we're going to detect distortion. I'm going to go up. There we go. 45. I'm going to back it down just a little bit. 41. So 41, 45 is clipped. So this one shows 45.9. 45.9, spot on, and we see on the scope the sine is already clipped. If I'm gonna go down just a tiny bit, there we go. We went down to about 40 and we don't have any distortion. 40, no distortion, and the sine wave is clean as well. Now, one thing, I'm going to turn this amplifier just a little bit. This amplifier has a clip light as well. So we can see it just barely clipping. So if I'm going to turn a little bit more, you can see the clip light is on. This doesn't show distortion yet. And on the scope, you cannot see distortion as well. But if I'm going to keep increasing until 45 or something, there we go. So now 45, distortion detected. This is clipping. You can see visibly clipping sine wave. And that clip light is on. So which one is the most accurate? Hard to say, but probably is going to be the one on the amplifier. So there we go. You can see like now on the amplifier, it shows clip light. This one shows that it's clean. The sine wave, well, to be honest, it is clean. So I don't know why the amplifier shows a clip light. If I'm going to increase it a tiny bit more, just a tiny bit more, and we go into clip. So there we go. We found a clip point. If I'm going to back down a little bit, about 38 volts, 40 volts is going to be unclipped signal. Now, the problem is that I'll be powering that small subwoofer with this big monoblock. So I need to tone it down. That subwoofer can take 200 watts. So 200 watts, if we're going to apply Ohm's law, is going to be about 28 volts. So what I'm going to do now, I can do this here, or I can go back and I can go to AC/DC and AC. And I'm going to go down to 28 volts, 24, 23, something like that. There we go, 28, 29 volts is fine, just a little bit extra. So now I know that I'm not clipping, and I set the voltage according to that subwoofer. Now we're gonna do exactly the same with the 4-channel amplifier and that little 6.5 speaker. Okay, so here we have now connected this small amplifier, exactly the same. Now we do have 1 kilohertz sine tone, not 40 hertz, and it's going through the amplifier into these things. So now I just turn the volume down quite a lot. We have 4.2 volts, 4.2 volts, good. And this is small class D amplifiers. They look noisy on the scopes, so it's not a surprise. Now on this, I did have to turn the gain all the way down because this takes only 4 volts in, and this head unit can do 5 volts out. It does time out. Beep. There we go. So we know that this head unit is going to be too much for this amplifier. Let's check if we have clipping. Where we have clipping. Let's keep increasing the voltage. Okay, 6, 7. Mainly, I'm going to be looking at the scope. So there we go. There. Now on the scope, you can see we're already starting to see a little bit of a clip. The recoil tester doesn't pick it up yet. If I'm going to increase it more, it's clipping. More. Nothing. There we go. Now detected clip. So it does detect the clip, but it's probably going to be like 5 to 10%. It's not going to be 1% distortion. It's going to be much more because this is quite a lot of clip. So we're going to back down a few. See, that's the thing, because this one doesn't show anything. It shows it's clean, but it is already clipping. Not much, but it's clipping. If I'm going to back down something like this, now we know that it's super clean. And we do have 13 volts, 13.2 volts. Yeah, it's fine. So what I want to see is when it does detect clipping, at what percentage of THD, because it's for sure not 1%. You can see. Yeah, when it's flat top, only then it detects as a distortion. So it's going to be interesting to see how much is this. My guess is going to be probably 10% clip. So if we're going to leave it like this, it is slight clip. We have 16, so that's the thing. Now it shows 16. This one shows 19, so 3 volts difference. Well, 2.5 volts difference. We're going to go back, because when it's clipping, the RMS voltage is calculated very differently. But if we're going to go back to normal voltage, there we go. Now it drops down to 13, 13 same. If we're going to go into slight clip, this one shows 19, this one shows 15. Weird, weird. So now we have an issue where I cannot go with this head unit one click below as I could with a monoblock. So if we want to match this, we can go on a few different ways. First, we can redo the monoblock, where how much do we need? Something like this, 15 volts. So 28 on volume 28, we need to go back to the monoblock and redo it, the gains, turn it a little bit more up, and then we would have kind of for both amplifiers matched everything. So last thing what I want to show you on this thing, I'm just going to disconnect it. Last one I want to show you is the phase test. So for this, I need to connect that speaker and play that clicky clockety sound. To be honest, I'm not sure if it's going to work in free air, because this is supposed to have like a baffle. All speakers are supposed to have a baffle. So we're going to go to the track phase test signal. You can hear the beep, buck. There we go. Just to make sure it's loud. Yeah, these are the pops. So let's have a look. Let's see what it does. This is gonna be a single test. We're gonna go single speaker test. So to be honest, it does work, but I'm not sure how it's supposed to show and what. Let me just very quickly double check the manual. Okay, so what I did is I was playing that file, but now I just saw in the manual as well that you connect audio out. So when I connect, it is loud and it is buzzing because there is a ground loop. You can see that ground loop. Well, it does show more green than red, so I guess it's fine. That's the thing. I never use this thing. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be all green or it's supposed to be a pattern going, but we saw more green ones than red. So maybe this open baffle is kind of interfering with everything. If it's in the doors, maybe it's gonna act totally differently. Yeah, it does show a pattern of some sort. You can see it going now both click, 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 both. So I think it's fine. That's my guess. The weird thing is that in the manual, it doesn't say anything about any pattern. Let's actually switch the polarity and see if it changes at all. Okay. Yeah, you can see now everything is red. Like most of them are red. So it does change. Yeah, probably it gives positive and negative signals, and then it detects. So we can see 3 red, 4 red, 4 red. Yeah, it does detect it properly. It works. Yay. I'm just revisiting very quickly the distortion on the RCAs because I don't know what's wrong with it. Okay, now it shows 3.4 volts undistorted, and come on, multimeter shows 5.2 volts. So I don't know what's wrong. The very last thing that I want to test is I connected the quantasylum just to see exactly how much distortion we're getting and when it's going to be detected. So I have the recoil, the scope, and the quantasylum. I'm going to go on the volume up, and we're going to see when it hits distortion. So up, another click. Another, there we go, 20 volts, 18 volts, we have distortion. This one shows THD plus noise 3%, and the scope shows this. If I'm gonna go one click down, just like that, we're dropping below 1%, 0.15, so one click up, 3%, and one click down, 0.2. One click up, detected, one click down, fine. So even if you see we have 0.1%, no distortion, the scope shows this. If I'm gonna go one click up, it's kind of a flat top. So yes, a flat top is about 3% distortion, and one click down, even if it shows like this on the scope, this is not distorted signal, is 0.2. It's starting, you can see already we have harmonics, but if we're gonna go another click down, there we go. Now the sine wave is clean on the scope. There's nothing, and here we have 0.01. There we go. So for those that sets up gains with a scope, if you see something, this is close to 0.1. If you see a flat top, that's going to be distorted and above 1%. So yes, this is totally accurate. Above 1% distortion. It does detect everything just perfectly fine. However, I do have a problem with smaller voltages. As you saw, it did pick up the distortion on the RCAs, but it doesn't show the correct voltage on the RCAs on the smaller signal. On the bigger signal, is no problems at all. It does detect, we see 20 volts, it's perfectly fine. Maybe not 100% accurate, not a fluke, but it does detect and it does work. Now, why it doesn't show voltage? Let's actually go down just to see if it's gonna stop 9 volts, 9 volts. Let's go down 3 volts to 1.8. So it does show voltage. Aha, it doesn't detect signal. Okay, 0.8 volts. It doesn't. There we go. So it does detect only above 1 volt. Interesting. So this is on the volume. You can see 7. Below 7, below 7 on the volume, it doesn't detect anything. It shows the voltage, but it doesn't really detect. So very interesting. Yeah, AC voltage on the lower voltage is not that accurate, but you can see it works. It does show distortion above 1%. Another very quick test I want to do is I just connected my DAC. This DAC can output 2 volts clean. It doesn't clip. So now I have -6 dB FS signal, 1000 hertz. It does pick up the signal as clean. If I'm gonna go to -7, which is below 1 volt, 0.9, okay, still shows. Yeah, there we go. It kinda doesn't detect anymore. -9, and now it doesn't detect the signal. However, if I'm gonna go to 0 dBFS, so maximum output on this DAC, we do have 2 volts and clean signal. So why it doesn't detect correct voltage on this head unit, I have no idea. Maybe I should try a different head unit. However, this thing should work on literally anything because it's universal and it doesn't pick up voltage on that one. for some reason. Now we know it has voltage because this thing picks it up and it's fine, but I don't know. It's not going to be grounding thing because this thing doesn't have ground. It's just have positive and negative, and it works on this one perfectly fine. So I don't know really. So my final thoughts, is this thing worth the money? It's difficult to say. Probably the only function that I would pay extra money is for the distortion detector. Now, yes, as we saw on RCAs, in my particular case, it doesn't pick up correct voltage, but it does pick up distortion. So everything above 1% is fine. With higher voltage on amplifiers, it's not an issue. It picks up voltage and distortion perfectly fine. All the other stuff like, I don't know, maybe this phase tester is kind of useful, but like if you're tuning it properly with impulse response and using a DSP, you're measuring everything, you don't really need it. All the other stuff, AC/DC, continuity and everything, can be done with a cheap multimeter. And to be honest, the distortion can be checked with a scope as well. But like if you want a unit like all in one that would be always on hand, maybe yes. But like if you're choosing between this one and the SMD, DD, whichever the distortion detector, it's a no-brainer. This one wins 100% just because on top of the distortion detection, it has all the other functions, whereas the DD, whichever, it just does distortion, that's it. And that's the thing, like I've seen many times when people buy that DD tool, they set the gains and they sell it for half the price because it doesn't have any resale value. And this thing, it is much cheaper compared to that. Would I personally buy this for £200? Personally, me, no, because I'm trying to do everything as cheap as possible. And for me, I would use this and I would use this just because I'm cheap. But if you want a fancy tool, yeah, go for it. I mean, why not? The only thing that I kind of don't like is that it's a bit slow. Like even if you want to do continuity, you have to go this and then you have to press to test it. Whereas on this one, because I know it, you go there, there, and you have your continuity between these straight away without pressing anything. So it is a bit slower. However, I think it's very useful for like super beginners that don't know the difference between all of these and they have no idea how to set up this that doesn't have an auto button. Then yes, this for beginner that doesn't know how to use any other tools is perfect because you just read, you go, you press OK, and you press OK, and it tells you everything in letters. So if you're a beginner, if you have some spare cash, yeah, go for it. For a professional, I want to hear your opinions as well. Comment down below the video because I want to know if you would buy this for $200 or not. That's it for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.